Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Rosko and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Hi, welcome back to Downsizing Roadmap. I'm Jody Rosko.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And today we're going to talk about why downsizing is so hard, the science of decision fatigue.
Those words, decision fatigue, such a real thing.
It is totally a thing. And we see it over and over when people just get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that they have and decisions on making, on each little thing. So we're going to just talk about why that feels hard and scientifically why it's hard and decision fatigue and what you can do. Like what are some ways that we can outsmart it?
Yes, I love that. I think that this is not something that comes along, just with downsizing. We hit this decision fatigue all throughout life.
For sure.
Starting with little kids when you're like, what do you want to wear today? And it's just massively overwhelming. But if you say, do you want to wear this outfit or that outfit? And you've simplified the decision-making process, you can make more progress. So
I think our biggest one right now is what's for dinner.
Yes.
Oh,
the worst question in the world. I was fatigued from that one 20 years ago. Now I'm definitely exhausted by that.
I saw this meme and it was like about that. And it was like, nobody told me the hardest part about adulting was going to be deciding what's for dinner every day.
Yeah, over and over every day for the rest of your life.
Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Yes, definitely decisions, it not just in your stuff, but in your life, you can just get overwhelmed by it. And if that's what you do all day at work, or, if you have to make lots of decisions over and over again, it definitely wears you down on making decisions about stuff in your house or your life or dinner.
Yeah. And so you get up to, a process like downsizing, and it is a monumental amount of decisions. Mm-hmm. But all of that becomes easier the more planning you do, the more time you give yourself to spread it out. And, we'll talk about some other strategies.
Like, I think the habits you create in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. To lessen the amount of decisions each day or each project definitely helps. Yeah.
So if you're feeling drained on deciding what to keep, this is the episode for you, right? So
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about all of that. So, and it just isn't sorting your stuff. It's making emotional hundreds of little decisions, and it's cognitive decisions. Do I want this? Do I want that? Do I want should I keep this? What? And then sometimes you can go down a whole rabbit hole with just one thing. You're looking at this thing going, oh, what do my kids want it, or what am I, whatever.
Yeah. I looked up the definition of decision fatigue, and it's the decline in the quality of your decision making after a period of making numerous choices. So I think that's what you're saying, that something that was an easy decision, if it was your first decision, you can make that. But if you've already made 300 decisions, you do start doubting the easy decision and start second guessing yourself and feeling emotionally attached to things that you really aren't. So that's the time to just recognize,
for the day.
Recognize what's happening, and recognize that it will be much easier if you stop, regroup, and redo it the next day with that fresh mindset. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So mental exhaustion. So research by psychologist Roy Baumeister on willpower depletion. He did some research on willpower depletion, and that is actually a whole thing. That I've read a lot about that actually in eating. You have your willpower all day, like if you're on a diet or something. So you can kind of like relate it in this way. But if you're on a diet, you have your willpower, and then by the end of the night, like I'm one of those that like, okay, now I'm snacking after dinner. Like I just had dinner. Like I don't need a snack, but like my willpower from the day is gone.
Yeah, because the willpower is a decision every moment to, it comes into play because you are trying to change a habit or change, a behavior. So you're deciding every minute of the day, no, I'm not going to have that snack. No, I'm not going to have that snack. And should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
So clearly decision fatigue in that instance as well. And you just give in. And that's what we're talking about, that the quality of your decisions goes out the window and you eat the chocolate cake.
Yeah. Yeah. And you eat all of the chocolate cake, not just a little bit of the chocolate cake. But what he was researching was about like judges, and they, it's shown that they give harsher rulings later in the day. Like they have more empathy or more, willingness to hear all the sides of it or whatever that looks like. I don't know what that is, but by the end of the day, they just can't hear anymore of whatever it's the excuses or whatever is happening, and they end up giving harsher rulings later in the day, which is, I'm sure they don't mean to. I'm sure they don't even know they're doing that.
No.
It's just a level of, okay, I just can't,
I need the decision making to be over.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. So, that's for us when we're choosing what we eat or don't eat, and also like looking at things in our life. We have 100 books. Which ones are we keeping? We have 15 pairs of jeans. Which ones are we keeping? And sometime in the beginning of the clean out, that's easy. It's like, oh, these don't fit me. I don't like the way these feel, whatever. But by, the 100th thing that you're looking at, it's like, I don't know. Do I like this? Do I not like this? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a total zone out. And, we talk about, stats about the house. And if the average American home has 300,000 items, and you're talking about going through to make room for a move or to declutter your house, whatever, that's 300,000 decisions.
Yeah.
So you can see how giving yourself time and starting early, you can break that down into manageable chunks, and how overwhelming it could get if you've waited and you're hitting that mountain. They're not all important or hard decisions, but it's the quantity makes them feel harder and more exhausting.
Yeah, most of them actually are not hard decisions.
No.
It's just that there's too many piled up.
Yeah.
So
I think we talk about that a lot, that you should always start with easy things.
Yeah.
So that you can get the bigger bulk of decisions out of the way while they're easy. So start each day with an easy category, start the whole process with easy categories. Because twofold, you can get decisions out of the way quicker, but you'll build momentum and you'll build confidence in your decision-making ability, because you're like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought. Oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought. And when you hit those harder things, you have that confidence.
Well, and sometimes like one tactic is that you go through all of your stuff and you just make the easy decisions. Like the stuff that just one quick sweep where you just know I totally can get rid of those things.
Yeah.
And then another time you go through it again and you can definitely get rid of more. It's just, those things might take a little bit more thought process or whatever. Or sometimes it's just like you're seeing it with fresh eyes. By the end of the day, the last time you were cleaning out that drawer or that closet or your bin of kids' clothes that you have from your kids, you got all sentimental and couldn't let it go. But today you've started at the beginning with the fresh, and you're like, oh no, this can go.
What were hard become the easy, because the easy is already out of the house.
Yeah.
That for sure happens.
Yep. So. So every item is a decision, and the emotional weight just makes it more taxing. And I think you see, as people start in the beginning, they kind of just like, oh yeah, I don't need that, and as they go along, it turns into like, well, what if my daughter would want that, or what if my kid, what if her daughter would want that, or we should save this for whatever. And I think because the decision fatigue sets in, it lets you go down a little bit more rabbit holes as you kind of go along, and you're looking for reasons not to make the decision, because those are really procrastination techniques, honestly.
Yeah.
And maybe I should keep this for my daughter, or maybe I should keep this for whatever. And I'm not saying there aren't things that you shouldn't keep for them. But if you notice that's what's happening if you've been doing this for a couple hours and you notice that's what's happening, that may be a clue to you, like, hey, I think I'm just, not making the decisions
in the best way possible.
and I need to just, take a little break.
I think sometimes too, one tactic, when you're struggling a little bit with decisions, it's a lot easier to make a this or that decision between two similar items than to make over and over again yes or no decisions on each item individually.
Yeah.
Because there's that loss on, am I keeping this? No. And you're constantly giving things away instead of that choosing the best of whatever category or whatever. I think mentally that can help reduce your decision fatigue because you're not just deciding on every item to give it away. You can look and see, okay, I don't need 15 spatulas.
Yeah, I'm going to pick
Here's the
my
best
favorite two.
And it's less of a feeling of loss or giving away too much.
Yeah, I love that because you can group things.
Yeah.
And then it's one decision almost. It's like I'm going to pick the best two, which may seem obvious, from the group, and the rest of it can go. And then it's not like a decision on each one of those things. You've, put things together that you've grouped.
Yeah. We were cleaning out some stuff over the weekend and, between a couple spots, we suddenly had a pile of like 10 blankets, like the couch couch blankets. We're like, okay, this is ridiculous. Let's pick two and get rid. And that was so much easier than having to look at each one and think where it was from or think if I like it enough or not enough. It was just a comparison. Pick your favorite two out of this pile. And
if you're downsizing, that is what you need to be doing in your mind around all of your things, right? Because if you're truly downsizing into a smaller place, you don't have room for 10 couch blankets. You won't need 10 couch. You'll need 2. You'll need yours and theirs.
Yeah.
And, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so thinking this is my limit of what I need, like ahead of time.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, here's my list of the things I think I'm going to need. If you're doing the kitchen, you're going to need dishes for, 4 or 6 or not 12, or whatever that number is. And then which of those would I want if that's what I'm looking at? Which 6 dishes would I want? I do think that's a totally different mindset.
Absolutely.
And what your emotional mindset is when you're doing it matters too. So if you are doing this from a place of stress or that you need to do it immediately for whatever reason, or there has been something that's happened in your life that's causing you to do this, or whatever that is, whatever the life transition is. Moving's big on a life transition on its own. Moving on its own is a big life transition. So but there could be more on top of that. There might be a loss. There might be something else that's going on. Or it's just a whole new season of life. Maybe you're retiring. It's a whole new season of life. And change, even if it's exciting, is still mentally, hard, right? And so where you're coming from on that day also plays into what you're looking at there. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit about how decision fatigue and these emotions show up, and so that you can recognize, like, this is happening. Yeah, it's time for a break. So if you are working on any task and you're just starting to feel paralyzed by the task and it's bringing on much more anxiety than it should, and you're just feeling overly emotional about it, time to take a break. Yeah. If you are avoiding or procrastinating, you're kind of doing the project, but you're going for lots of snacks, or you're searching for something to listen to at the same time. If you're just avoiding getting started and not really diving in, maybe you've had enough for that day and time to stop. If you're seeing your emotions come out to your loved ones in ways that you don't want to see, and you're just snapping at each other, you're losing sight of that, dream and the reason why you're doing things, it's okay to stop for the day. If you're just making sweeping decisions let's throw it all away, or no, I'm keeping it all. There's nothing wrong with that. It's that you have made too many decisions for that day, and it's time to revisit it tomorrow. You either stop the whole project or you move to a different category that's easier. Whatever that looks like, it just means, you've lost that ability for the day to make good, rational decisions.
I totally agree. And I think that some of this also, though, shows up in the beginning before you've even started.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're feeling like this, avoiding, procrastinating, feeling paralyzed before you've even started. And so for decision fatigue, this shows up, just to be clear, after you've been making decisions. So after you've spent a day or a week or whatever time frame working on things, and then these feelings start to come back up again. If you're feeling like this in the beginning, then that's you're just kind of afraid to get it started rolling. Maybe you're afraid of what that future is going to look like. Maybe you need to step back and do some of that dreaming again. Or you need to just start creating a habit where you're doing it a little bit every day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, whatever that looks like, and just creating a habit around doing it. So if these things are showing up, feeling paralyzed, avoiding, snapping, sweeping, just take it all, I'm keeping it all, whatever, before you've started doing any of it, then you do need to get started on it and just to do a little bit every day. If they're coming after you've been doing it, then it's time to take a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. So let's talk about some strategies where, when you're starting for the day, you're doing your 10 minutes or you're doing a bigger project, there are ways to combat the decision fatigue from the beginning, so you're not just waiting for it to show up. You can make the whole thing a little easier. I love the first one we have here, preset rules. I think this is the 10-minute challenge or whatever. Different ways, there's lots of different ways to preset those rules, but you're giving yourself those parameters on how to be able to check the box for that day. And so, some examples might be, I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes today, and that's it. That's the rule, and you just don't stop till that 10 minutes are over. Some other rules regarding the stuff, some examples, before you even make your first decision, you decide, if I haven't used it in 2 years, it goes. Just a hard and fast rule. Maybe 1 bin per child for keepsakes. If keepsakes and memory things are, the thing that catches you and is hardest for you, put some parameters on space, on how much, so that you know that preset decision, that you can have permission to keep enough for whatever you've defined. If it hasn't been unpacked since the last time you moved, right out of the house.
Oh my gosh, how many people do we have that?
Yes.
Oh, so many people when we are, they're getting ready to sell their houses, and they're, whether it's downsizing or not, they're just getting ready to sell their houses, and we start looking around, and we're looking at the storage area, and it's like, oh, those boxes we moved here.
Next time you guys move, Ryan's boxes are going out.
Yeah, I gotta deal with Ryan's boxes, but they'll be like, yep, those were there when we moved in, and we never did even unpack them. I have no idea what's even in them. Clearly, they don't need what's in them.
Yeah.
They don't. Now, they're going to want to go through it to see if there was something, a jar of money in there, or something.
Of course.
But be so realistic with yourself about, if you haven't, you don't need it. You just don't need it.
Yeah. Holiday decor must fit in blank number of bins.
Yep.
And these are all different for you to decide what fits the mountain of stuff that you're looking at. But in general, thinking of rules that work for what you're battling can be so helpful than just like, I don't know how to get started. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make these decisions. That's going to cause that decision fatigue to set in much quicker.
Yeah, because think about the difference between saying to you, hey, clean out your holiday stuff, or hey, your favorite holiday stuff needs to fit in these 2 bins because that's how much storage these bins can go, wherever in the new house. Your favorite things have to fit in these 2 bins. That's how much room we have. That's so different. I think that when you, we have a quote from Barry Schwartz, and it's the more choices that we have, the harder it is to choose, right? Yeah. And so what I love about this preset rules is, number one, you're thinking about it beforehand. So you're not in the middle of it trying to think about it. You're going to use your rules as, guidance. But it narrows down the choices, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have a bin for your kids' stuff and you have more stuff than fits in the bin, you have to go through it again till you get to that's what fits in the bin.
It moves the decisions more to like facts and logic versus emotion when you know how many bins you have room for, or if it hasn't been used in 2 years or 5 years, whatever that is. It's just has it or hasn't it met that criteria, decision made.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, do I like it? I don't know. I kind of do. Maybe I'll use it. It's just what's the facts about this? Have I used it or not?
Yeah.
Move it out. So definitely set those rules. Back to what we were talking about with the this or that, make batch decisions. We went through that.
That's like, put all your spatulas out there, pick the favorite 2, the rest of it can go. Or I think, where this really plays a part is in if people have big collections.
Yeah.
And you just pick your favorite 2 or 3 things, whether that's your parents' collection that you're trying to take something from, if you want that, or whatever, or yours, and you ended up, you know what happens to a lot of times to people? It's like somebody will be like, I love roosters, and then every single person they know gives them a rooster, right? And they're not, they had a couple that they loved, and then now they have 57 of them.
Yes.
And
my mom, my mom likes moose. And it ended up we had a whole moose room at their house, because that's the gift to give. And
yeah, people kind of like glob onto that and they're like, oh, she likes moose. We're going to get her something moose, right? And so in the beginning she did, and maybe in the end she didn't even like the moose anymore. At some point you get to a point you're like, that was enough. Like, I didn't mean for that all to happen necessarily. Yeah. But I think the batch decisions are great for collections of things. And if you're going and you can't take that whole collection, then what are your top 3, top 5, depending on what you have room for and what the thing is, and then batch the rest of it can go.
Yeah, and then with that batch decision, you're defining what you're keeping both by need. I will need 6 towels at my new house. What are my 6 favorite? Instead of looking at every towel, I do like this pink color. I do like how soft this one is. And then you end up and you still have, 40 towels out of 50 because you liked them. It works together to really streamline the decisions so that you can get through them faster and better.
And not to have to make so many micro decisions.
Yeah. So checklists and categories, those are definitely, we've talked about that in like our Jumpstart episode and everything, but definitely don't just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'll work on downsizing today.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, the checklists and categories give you that path of what's the next thing on the list that I need to tackle and how much time do I have today to work on it, which goes to the next tip about time blocking. You're just moving through with a plan instead of overwhelming yourself with a mountain of undefined, I just should downsize. What does that, what does that mean for you? And what does the end result look like that you're trying to get to?
Mm-hmm. I find that in everything, like we watch Top Chef. I love that show. And they're at the end, it's just like, they're like, make whatever you want. And they're like, oh, because that's so hard without any parameters. Like everything else was like a test and it's like, here's some obscure ingredient, make a dish out of it.
But you knew exactly
and they're like,
what you had to work with. Yeah.
And so the idea of just kind of creating your own parameters around it is so good because that just vague, I'm going to clean out today, or I'm going to downsize to something today, or it's just too hard. It's just too hard.
Yeah. And so you can, before you start the whole process, I mean, we have our decluttering checklist that you can get from our website, which just kind of breaks down the typical house into rooms. Or you could do something specifically tailored to you, I need to hit photos and, the craft room and this, but if you take just a little bit of time at the very beginning and put those in an order that makes sense, starting with easy and breaking down it into sections, then you can just say, okay, I'm going to work on this next thing on the list for 20 minutes today.
Yep. Yeah.
And you feel so good because you can accomplish that.
Yeah. And then time blocking.
Yeah.
Time blocking either, an hour a week, an hour a day, depending on how quickly you need to get something done. If this is something that you think, hey, I just need to start working on this. Like, I don't want to leave all this to my, kids, or I know we're going to move in the next few years and I know I have too much stuff. Start with 10, 15 minutes a day. And the purpose of that is just to make it a habit, to make it to something that is going to be ingrained in you. Because even when you get to the new place, you're going to need to call out things. We can't just continue to bring things in and let nothing go out, or it's just going to turn into, too much stuff at the next place. So creating a habit around it is super important.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side, if you are tackling this on a tighter time frame, you're moving in a month, or you're moving in a couple weeks, or things have just approached faster and you're needing to tackle big things, you definitely want to make sure that you take care of yourself through that. So if you're going through this, don't neglect getting enough sleep at night. Don't try to pull all-nighters, or make sure you're getting the right nutrition and water and taking breaks, because this can be an overwhelming thing. And not only for your health, but for that decision fatigue, taking a 10-minute break to go back and making sure you get something to drink and eat and get rid of that hangriness and all of that can help just kind of reset if you still need to continue on that day. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I would say reduce other decisions in your life as much as possible so that you have room for the decisions needed to do this. So decide ahead of time, what you're having for dinner that's easy, or decide we're ordering pizza at the end of the night, and, whatever, make your sandwich and put it in the fridge in the morning so it's just ready when you have a break. Try not to compile all
now
the
what am I going to have for lunch and what am I going to have for dinner?
All the decisions that we make daily anyway. If you can reduce those by making easy decisions ahead of time, you just know, you don't have that what's for dinner also weighing on you, or I'm starting to get hungry, but I'm not ready, or any of those things. Pre-make as many daily decisions so that you can focus on downsizing decisions.
Yep. So, so those are the strategies. Preset some rules, make batch decisions, checklists. You can reach out to us for some of those. Time blocking. So just kind of give yourself parameters. I guess that's the bottom line of it. Create them. Just create yourself parameters so that it makes it easier on you.
Yeah. And for a short time frame or a longer time frame to do this, when you've defined what you need to accomplish in a day, you can end the day knowing you accomplished it. And I think that's important. We've talked about it before, but when you can check the box and
celebrate the win,
celebrate what you did that day, because, you said, I'm going to clean these, 3 areas and you did, that's enough. Then it's a stopping point before you don't know what to stop and you're wandering through. Yeah. Without knowing.
The other thing about decision fatigue, it really hits you at the end of the day. Yeah. So if you can get your, couple hours, if that's what you need to do, if you're on a quicker time frame, if you can get those in the morning and, stop for the day, then that's maybe a better choice, just to get that late day decision fatigue is not when you want to be starting the project.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we hope that this was helpful. Again, our 30-day decluttering checklist is on our website, downsizingroadmap.com. That's a great starting point to build those parameters and start dividing up the work. So feel free to sign up for that download. And if you need us, you can contact us on the website, and we will be back next week with another episode.
Yeah, it's not that you're bad at it. It's just that your brain is doing some heavy lifting. So give yourself a break around it.
Yeah.
Yep, it's true. It is science.
Yeah.
So, all right, good to talk to you all. Talk to you next time.
Okay, thanks, Jody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.